Rothschild. Welcome to this month's womensministry.net video devotional. I'm so glad you're here. Here's a question for you. Are you a crockpot speaker or a microwave speaker? Now, if you're scratching your head right now thinking, what? Has the woman lost her mind? I'm saying that because the last womensministry.net video was part 1 to this series, where we're going to do part 2 today. You see, last time I talked about the first 2 principles I use when I'm speaking. And one of them is letting the message simmer instead of just zapping it. And secondly, showing the audience rather than just telling. So if you haven't seen that, go back and look at it. But today, I'm going to give you principles 3 and principle 4 of what I apply when I'm speaking. Now, if you're not a professional speaker, it's all right. Don't tune me out. Besides, the word professional is very vague and overrated. We are all communicators, aren't we? Whether it's to an audience of 30, or an audience of 300, or an audience of 3,000, or an audience of 1. And every member of an audience is very important. That's why we want to communicate very well, so that our message is heard. So today, principle 3 and principle 4. Here's principle 3. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Then tell them. Then tell them what you just told them. Then tell them what to do. Okay, did you get that? That's 4 tells. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Then tell them. Then tell them what you just told them. Then tell them what to do. Now, wow, does that seem complicated? It's really not. No matter what your message is, what that does is it gives you 4 ways to communicate your message. As you tell them what you're about to tell them, you prepare them to listen. Today, I'm going to share with you 2 principles of speaking. See, I prepared you. I told you what I was about to tell you. Now, I'm in the process of telling you. I'm sharing with you the message. And then when I finish, if I do this correctly, I will tell you what I just told you. I'll review. Now that doesn't mean I review in massive detail. And I also don't review because I think the audience isn't listening. It's just a way to help them take their message, put it in a little doggy bag so they can take it home and enjoy it later. It just helps them review. And then the last thing is tell the audience what to do. Now, I don't mean that in a bossy sort of way. I mean, often our messages can be very abstract. But when we, at the end of a message, tell them what to do, we give them a concrete action step, something they can do so that they can know whether they have really heard and understood as they apply that message. All right, so that's principle 1. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you just told them, and then tell them what to do. Last principle in this series, principle number 4, which I know I just said principle number 3 was principle number 1. Forgive me, I really am a word person, not a numbers person. Principle number 4 is this: connect with your audience emotionally, and then they will connect the dots of your message. Now, when I say connect with your audience emotionally, I don't mean that a speaker needs to get up and be dramatic and weep and wail or scream and yell or whatever. I don't mean emotional outbursts. I mean have a genuine, emotional, present tense within your message. You see, if you don't feel your message, no one else will. And so in order to really be authentic, you can't just get up and be dramatic emotionally. You need to actually be emotionally present in your message. Because what happens is your audience needs to know you. Women especially, they're not going to hear what you want them to know unless they feel like they know you. And that happens as you connect with them emotionally by being emotionally authentic. Now, some speakers, they cry at the thought of a Folgers coffee commercial. Others can tell a heart-wrenching story and never hear a crack in their voice. That is not how we know someone is connecting emotionally. So please don't hear me saying that if you cry tears, you are a good emotional connecting speaker. I don't mean that. Women have the most incredibly honed authenticity detectors. And when you are true to your personality and to the style that God has given you, when you are emotionally present in your message because you have chosen to be honest, chosen to be vulnerable, then your audience will see it. They will begin to know you, and they will want even more to know your message. So, speaking of speaking, we've talked about 4 principles. In the first video, we talked about simmering your message rather than just zapping it. Showing your audience, not just telling them. Third principle, which I should have made a little more concise, tell your audience what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you just told them, and then tell them what to do. And then the last principle is connect with your audience emotionally, and then they will connect the dots. But the most important principle for any speaker is this. 1 Peter 4:11, if any man, if any woman speaks, let her do so from the gifts that God has given her, so that she's like an oracle of God. And if she serves, let her serve from the strength that God has given, so that in everything, God would be glorified through Christ Jesus. Thanks for joining us at womensministry.net.